Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new edition of the Angle Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Joey Karni. And today's episode, we have to start with a quick tribute to the late, great Scott Hall with a quick, hey, yo. And again, welcome everybody back to the Angle Podcast. With me today is a hitmaker, plain and simple. Whether she's in the ring, on the mic, in the studio, or bringing the fire to her OnlyFans, she B-Fab in everything that she does. Her new single, Focus, drops on April 22nd. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Briana Brandy. How are you? And welcome to the Angle Podcast.
Thank you for having me, Joey. I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
And you are extremely busy right now doing all sorts of things, all sorts of great things coming up. You're traveling the world. You said earlier you're in Colombia right now. What are you doing in Colombia, and how are you juggling all of your dates and everything?
I love being overseas. Honestly, I have a huge love to travel and just being away. Before I got signed with the WWE, I was living in the Dominican Republic, and when I signed my contract, I was actually living in Colombia. So I've been over just traveling, so much. So I really love it here. And I have, my brother's here. I have a few family members as well, and tons of friends. So I love it here.
And like I said, you're doing so many things. We're going to jump into all that in just a little while. But on that list of things is a return to wrestling being added, to that list. AJ, Tahuti, and yourself, now known as the HITMAKERZ, returned together. Finally, a reunion that I think the fans have been waiting for. I've been waiting for quite some time now. How did you all decide that this was the time to reunite?
Well, first we had to wait for their contracts to fully be finished. So that was like a huge thing that made us have to wait. But other than that, I mean, we were the HITMAKERZ whenever we were in the Performance Center. Originally was myself, AJ, and Tahuti. We were doing like a music group already before. So after everybody got released and all the contracts things were done like that, we were trying to give everybody a chance to, find their own way, what you want to do. After this, we were like, hey, respecting everyone's decisions, like, hey, what do you want to do? Do you want to wrestle? Do you want to stay together? What do you want to do? So with Swerve being in the indies so long and just having so much experience and, connections there, he wanted to do his own thing, which was great because I was like so proud of him, like, bro, you're going to kill it. But after that, we're like, hey, well, we might as well do the HITMAKERZ again because we were the HITMAKERZ before. So it just worked out perfect.
And that kind of leads me to my next question, and that was if Swerve was involved in any way with the HITMAKERZ after the releases. Was there any like conversations as to, what, I know he wanted to go do his own thing, but if you guys were to all reunite, what would be, the idea moving forward?
We kind of were going to stick with what we were doing in a sense, because it was working so well in WWE and NXT, and everyone just connected with it so well. And I really felt like the group, Hit Row and HITMAKERZ at the time were just something so different that wrestling hadn't seen at that level and the way that we were doing it. So it was just naturally like, hey, if we're going to do it, we might as well just give the fans what they kind of got to see, a little bit, and just give it to them, where we can put it.
Of course. And Hit Row in WWE was just that. It was a hit. I mean, everybody loved Hit Row. Everybody loved it, all the characters individually. Who was behind the creation of Hit Row, and what really was the vision when you guys were creating all that?
So originally I was, we were all doing our own thing, of course, in the Performance Center. I had a music character that I was trying to add, me being a rapping gimmick as well. AJ was kind of doing the same thing, and Tahuti was kind of doing the same thing as well. And you already know that Swerve was doing that on TV. But it was originally just the three of us. Again, it was originally just me, AJ, and Tahuti in the Performance Center. Shout out to Ryan Katz because he had the idea of putting us three together. He's like, Briana, what do you think about being with these two and just putting a music group together, being kind of like a conglomerate? And I was like, oh my gosh, I love the idea. We actually are musicians. We love music. And it was just perfect. So when he gave us the idea, we kind of ran with it on our own after that and just immediately got together and started shooting promos on any faction, any, tag team that was in NXT because we wanted to get this put out there like immediately. So it's Kat's original idea, but once ever he told us like, we're hungry, we're go-getters. So all he had to do was spark an idea like, oh, that's perfect. We looked great together. So we were like, oh, this is amazing. So what transpired it to being Hit Row in NXT was the fact that Swerve was doing music as well with his character. He was on TV already and things like that. So Triple H kind of approached us and was like, hey, what do you think about adding him to your group? And we were like, oh man, that's a perfect fit. Like he does music. We wanted to make sure that it was legit and authentic, you know? Everybody actually does the role that they were playing or portraying in the group. So it just fit perfectly. And then it was Triple H's name that he came up with the Hit Row. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Triple H always has a sense for coming up with some great stuff.
Yeah.
But with Hit Row and the Hitmakers, what could you say is, you know, the similarities, and what's the biggest difference that we can expect going forward?
Well, you can expect the fact that there'll be 3 of us instead of 4. I would definitely just say that just seeing the dynamic of how the 3 of us actually work together as well, you know, it would have been like kind of like a Freebirds thing with the 3 of them, you know, tagging and, you know, doing singles and stuff like that. But now it'll be more of like AJ and Tahuti tagging and then me doing single stuff as well. So it'll kind of still have a little bit of the same feel, you know, as far as like us being a music group as well. But yeah, it'll have some differences as well. Definitely missing someone, but it's okay.
During Hit Row's time in NXT and also a little bit on SmackDown, I mean, at that time, Hit Row was my favorite thing going in WWE. And I know a lot of other fans really do feel the same way here. I mean, there was nothing like it. And the cool thing about the group was I read this on Twitter a lot of people didn't know who the star of the group was going to be, because everybody kind of switched their roles in a little bit, where at the front was you, and then at the front was Swerve, and then we had AJ up there, and it kind of just switched all around. But everybody said that individually they're all stars, so to put them together, I mean, it's just incredible to watch.
It was amazing. That's what we really wanted to focus on, was the fact that we were a group, a conglomerate, you know. There was no one person who was the focal, because if they're called for, you know, us needing a big guy for this, well, then we're going to pull AJ and use all his resources. If we need someone, you know, fast in the ring, we're going to use Tahuti. If we need someone who's quick and just knows how to do everything, we're going to use Swerve. We need someone to, you know, put across the feminine, you know, business side of everything, as well as, you know, beating up on any woman who wants to get involved. You had me. So we just really wanted to focus on the fact that there was no one focal point. We all were stars in a group that worked together to work together for whatever cause was needed at that time.
And I remember when Hit Row first debuted, I was just blown away by, first off, the presentation, but also I didn't know who everybody was in the group before. How did you, especially you being new to NXT, how did you break into pro wrestling?
Oh man, that is a really long story. I honestly never thought that I would become a wrestler. I watched it often. I love The Rock. Chyna was my favorite. I like resonated with her so much because she was the only woman in her group as well. So I was always the one hanging out with the boys growing up, and I was always the lone girl. So that really resonated with me. But she was so much bigger than me and just like, you know, just this powerhouse. So I never saw myself as like becoming a wrestler because of that difference. But it was a long story. There was a guy in Arizona who actually saw me running on a treadmill. And he was like, oh my gosh, I think you'd be great for wrestling. You know, what do you think? And I was like, oh, okay. Like I never really thought about it, but let's see. You know, I was doing music time as well, but transitioning into other things. So I was like, well, I can be open to this as well. So we had a guy that had connections to get tryouts. He wasn't necessarily a recruiter, but he did have a connection. So I ended up losing my connection with him. He was having like some family issues and things like that. So we kind of just lost connection there. And I had trained for 2 years up until that point to get this tryout.
Wow.
I had a connection with him. And I was like, okay, what do I do now? I trained for 2 years. I'm not going to let my training go, you know, it's going to die here like this. Like I had trained. I had trained, you know, more boxing. I started lifting heavier. Like I did everything I needed to do to be ready for this tryout, to be the elite there. So I just got on Twitter and I was like, okay, at the time, Instagram was really big and like Twitter was kind of, you know, in the middle there. So I was like, well, I should be able to get a connection through Twitter some kind of way if I just start hitting up people who like have been in WWE. I knew that the recruiting process and getting on was very like close knit. Like, you know that, like you have to kind of know someone to get on. So I was like, okay, I need to start hitting up wrestlers. So I started hitting up older legends and things like that. And one day I came across Kat's Twitter, and his messaging was open. Like normally people have their messaging turned off on Twitter, but his was open. He didn't have many followers. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is the creative director for NXT. Okay, let me hit him up. So I hit him up, and he sent me 2 promo examples he wanted me to do. And I shot him back to him immediately, and he loved them. He was like, wow, only thing I would say would be to slow down, but you did an amazing job. So he actually got me a tryout within 3 days of all of. Yeah, he sent my stuff right over to the top, and then Kanan Saman got me in, and I was like, wow, yeah, it was a crazy thing. Like if I would not have gone and did that extra step and been like, my training's not going to die here, I worked this hard, then this would have never happened.
I think that's a great story for up and coming wrestlers. I mean, because I think a lot of people, even outside of wrestling, they have that story where they're putting in all this effort and all this time, and it just seems like that point to the payoff is just slowly like you start to doubt yourself. And for you to just say, you know what, screw that, we're doing this, and we're in it to win it, really. I mean, that's an incredible story.
I thought it was really perfect for me because I was like, wow, I'll be able to combine the fact that I'm great on the mic with my athletic ability. I was like, there is no better reunion than the WWE. I didn't see it, but here it is, right in front of me. So I was like, I know that they need me. I wasn't recruited, obviously, but I was like, I know that they need me. Like, this would be a good thing for them. I would love to do it as well. So yeah, I was like, this is not going to die here. I'm going to go on.
And what's cool about it too, is that you don't necessarily hear about wrestlers coming from music. I mean, you hear coming from other sports and acting and different things like that, but to come from music, to bring that charisma and that like the writing skills and really the presentation to really speak well, you don't hear about that often. I think that's a new avenue for people to start looking down, when they're looking for superstars. So I think like your story and what you were able to do, it breaks like barriers in that sense, where now musicians can get into wrestling. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, you just never know what's going to happen. I always tell people, especially like my fans, I love to stay connected with them a lot. Like, never give up. If you had a plan, okay, well, their plan might be something different than what's actually going to happen, but it's still going to happen. You just can't get so tied down to this timeline of how you want things to go, because when you do that, you're you're taking out all of the amazing things that could happen, so. Yeah.
And with Hit Row having such a short time in NXT, which in this case was a good thing because you guys were so popular. I know a lot of people, have their comments when people in NXT they have a very short period of time there and they're brought up to the main roster. But Hit Row was just so over, and everybody loved Hit Row. So Hit Row gets drafted to SmackDown, the 2021 WWE Draft, and honestly was considered the most anticipated pick in the entire draft. I remember reading on Twitter when you guys were drafted, Twitter exploded, social media went mad. It was like such an exciting thing because Hit Row was coming to the main roster, and we knew what they can do in NXT, but to kind of take the chains off on the main roster, it was really, really, really exciting to see. What was your reaction to hearing that you guys were going to be drafted?
Man, so we didn't really know that we were going to be drafted for sure. They had everybody who was being considered for the draft come to Raw and SmackDown that weekend just to, be there to see what happened. So they didn't tell anybody what was going on. So the whole night we're backstage and everyone's like, oh, welcome to the team. Oh, are you nervous? Are you excited to be like, it was mixed signals. Some people were saying welcome. Other people were saying, what do you think? What do you think's going to happen? Like, so we didn't know anything. And then we didn't out. We were walking in the hall and Bruce Pritchard stopped us. We were talking to him for a second. He's like, oh yeah, next week you're going to have a writing team assigned to you guys. And we were like, what? He was like, yeah, we're going to have a writing team assigned to you next week. We're like, we don't know anything. Like, we don't know we're getting drafted. He's like, oh yeah, welcome to the team. And at that moment, we were like, oh my gosh, like this is happening. Okay, we are getting drafted. So we all just stayed calm talking to him at that moment. We go around the corner and we just all connected and just started jumping up and down like,
Yeah.
it was amazing. So yeah, that was the only thing you know.
Yeah, and at the time, I think Swerve was the North American champion, so that must have been a real like, what is going on? Like, like just
the middle of with Legato as well, and that hadn't finished. So we were thinking that the blow off for that whole storyline was going to be at War Games. Maybe having the first, intergender War Games with me and Elektra Lopez being in it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're like, okay, well, we don't know what's going to happen. And then we go back to NXT and they're like, well, we don't think we have enough time. Fox and SmackDown, they want you guys now. So we're going to have to figure something out. So yeah.
That it's a crazy story. It's crazy how everything just happened so fast. It's amazing to see. Did you know what the plan was for Hit Row, coming to SmackDown? Did they give you kind of an idea of what they expected, from the group?
Not really. I mean, they really just wanted us to let them know if they needed anything from us because, like in NXT, we had a lot of creative freedom to write our own promos or whatever we had to do for TV. We were writing that stuff ourselves.
Yeah.
So they kind of just wanted to use the fact that we were like you can call us at any moment and be ready for anything on TV. They were kind of just using that. So I think they just wanted to just plug us in anywhere that, oh, I'm sorry, did I lose you?
They're good.
Okay, sorry. I think they just wanted to plug us anywhere that they could use our mic skills, which was great because we were so fresh, so new, something that, hadn't been done before, obviously. So they just wanted to plug us anywhere. I really believe that they just wanted to showcase us in different things. They had us alongside the New Day, obviously, us in the Bloodline would have been cool. So they had a couple different things that they kind of were foreshadowing us to do a little bit, but not really. They kind of just were plugging us around, just to see what we could do and just be ready because they just loved our act in general.
Did they want to keep the idea of the focal point not necessarily being one person? Or did they want one of you guys to be, the lead of the group in a sense?
No, they never told us anything about wanting to be like a focal. They loved the fact that it was like a well-rounded thing. They loved the fact that the boys would be doing the Freebird thing, kind of like how New Day did, and the Shield. So it was really just like, hey, you guys are a great group. We love what you're doing. We're just going to, use it as needed and, do things with you guys as it comes up. But yeah, there was never any focal point like, okay, you're going to be the star. You guys are going to be the supporting. No, because they saw how we were doing it in NXT and they loved it.
Yeah. And after you guys were drafted up to SmackDown, there was a period where you guys, that Hit Row wasn't necessarily featured on SmackDown and it was more like a backstage segment here. I'm not sure how many matches that you guys had on SmackDown. Maybe like there was a couple.
Yeah.
But I saw on social media that fans were getting nervous that, there's a pattern of WWE moving, very over groups from NXT up to the main roster and then changing everything or releasing them. Was there any negative feedback, I guess, or emotion, when you guys weren't necessarily being used upon the arrival on SmackDown?
I'm going to be honest with you. I wasn't scared at all. Like, I truly felt that they saw, because we had done the Cypher, we had done a performance in NXT, we had done so many things and been called on in different ways. Yeah. And we were just like, when we went to go do our promos, we would literally, the four of us, mind you, if we're doing a promo together, if one person messes up, we have to start over. We would knock them out in like 4 or 5 takes, you know? So they were used to, like, they knew how we worked. So when we went up there and was just doing things like that, I wasn't nervous at all. I was like, oh, they're gonna, eventually figure out what direction they want to go with us first. Yeah. But everything they were doing, I felt like they just wanted to showcase us because they liked what we were doing. So I wasn't nervous at all. But I did see all this stuff on Twitter about everyone being like, oh God, Vince, no, don't touch it. Like, oh, they're gonna be. Yeah, I saw it all, but I wasn't scared, honestly. I wasn't nervous.
And
I should.
Shortly after that, B-Fab was released by WWE. If you can, how did that all take place? I mean, what was the emotion? What was the call like? What was, just so fans can kind of get that perspective of what exactly you experienced?
So we had an app called the TR app that we used for all of our appointments, appearances, whatever we have, traveling, everything. So you know where you're going to be going pretty much for the month. Yeah. So I had dots for that coming weekend. Then this, you know, that Friday SmackDown show, I had dots to be with the boys and everything like that. And I'd been there, I had seen it like weeks ahead. And the week comes and the dots are gone. Well, then the dots appear again and then they're gone again. So I'm like, okay, what's going on? Like I'm texting the boys like, hey, do you have dots? Like, what's going on? Trying to figure out what's going on. And like, no one knew what was going on. So AJ reached out to Laurinaitis like, hey, Bree doesn't have a dot. Like, what's up? She's not coming with us this weekend. You know, yeah. I don't understand. And he's like, well, we'll talk whenever I see you guys. So I was like, okay, well, this is about me. Let me call him and see what's up as well. No answer. And I was like, oh goodness. Okay. Like what's going on? I'm like, hey, call me back. So I wait, no response. And then around, you know, the evening time, he finally calls me back and I'm excited. I'm like, okay, cool. He's going to tell me like what's going on, whether they need me this week, the boys are doing something small, whatever it is, just tell me. It doesn't matter. I'll be there with them next week. And then he tells me that I'm released. And I was like my heart dropped and I couldn't believe it. And I was just like, you know, he's like, oh, you know, it's budget cuts, you know, and that kind of thing. And I kept hearing like, okay, it's my wrestling level, you know, compared to everyone else, you know, the reason was mainly like the budget cuts, but I was hearing after like, okay, it was like, oh, the wrestling level and stuff as well, which I was living in Orlando and I could have easily just kept going to the Performance Center to learn to wrestle more, along with going on the road with the boys. You know, we had already kind of been doing it anyway. They had been having us train more while we were on the road anyway. So I was really shocked. But I also, like, once the shock wore off, I kind of was like, okay, for me, everything happens for a reason. It always goes, you know, a way that it's supposed to go. Yeah. So I'm just going to, you know, let it go. But I was very, very shocked.
Yeah. And I think the fans were shocked because, like you said, having all of that success in a short period of time in NXT, coming to SmackDown, being like the most anticipated draft pick, and then it shortly falling apart where you, like you said, you weren't nervous at all. Nobody was nervous. It just happened the way it did. I mean, there was nothing
but praise for the group. You know, they had loved everything that we were doing, like I said. And yeah, I had no thought in my mind that this would happen to us.
Yeah. And I think the biggest take back was Hit Row was so fresh. Like there was nothing like it in WWE. There was nothing like all of you individually in WWE. I mean, It was just one of those things where it was a head scratcher for a long time. Yeah. So after that, I saw an interview with Swerve, and he said basically that everything changed once you left the group, once you were released. Did they express anything to you after the release? Now being a trio, I mean, did they feel like their time was coming? Did they feel something was going to change with them, as Hit Row on SmackDown?
No, I feel like they just felt like, they were going to go on and just, be a trio, kind of like how the New Day was and how, the Shield was and, the sex that those two groups had. So I was like, feeling like they thought, okay, we're just going to go on and do that. Now I know that, the boys are missing like crazy. We're like, Bree, it's not what we wanted. It wasn't our idea, but we were doing something different. And now they're kind of the same, you know what I'm saying? They're kind of that same look of three guys, you've had three guys a lot in WWE. So yeah, I don't think they thought that at all.
Yeah. And shortly after that, the three of them, Swerve, AJ, and Tahuti, were released as well, part of the budget cuts releases. What was your reaction to seeing that happen, not even that long after your release?
Well, I was actually here having dinner with my family, and a buddy of mine got a text message from Twitter saying that they were released. Now, Twitter is like the #1 spot for memes and like all these things. So I'm like, oh, this is a joke. Like, there's no way, like, why would they release them? That doesn't make any sense. And then I actually texted the boys in our group chat and they were like, yeah, like we just got the call. And I was shook. Like, I was like, what is happening? Like, I don't understand this. Because I felt like, they could have still went on and done some very impactful things in WWE. So for them to just drop them as well, I was like, wow, I didn't understand at that point. I was very, very confused.
Yeah, and to see them go as well. I mean, Swerve was a pillar in NXT at one point. I mean, he came to SmackDown with a title, the North American Championship. AJ being such a different, having a different style as being such a, a big guy in the ring, where there wasn't much of that with his style, and also being on WWE's those TV shows that he was on. So it was very, very odd to see all of it take place.
Definitely.
But after that time, was there any ill feelings towards WWE? Like, how did you feel after? And I guess, how do you feel now about all that taking place?
I felt like, with the kind of person I am, my work ethic, I'm always willing to do extra. I'm always willing to put in the work, to do and become whatever is necessary and what's needed for the job. I felt like I could have, been put back in the performance center or whatever needed to be done for me to get the training that they needed from me to be in the position they needed. I felt like kind of just like the short answer instead of being like, okay, let's just put time into this because it's going to be a good product and she looks great with the group. Yeah. As far as now, like I said, I'm a person who believes in everything happens for a reason and things always work out for the better. So I don't really have any ill feelings at all. It is what it is. And it's, a little bit, time has passed, of course.
Yeah.
So, but I really wish I could have stayed there and done more and showed everybody exactly who B-Fab was. I mean, I had so many layers to her that I wanted to showcase, but yeah, like I said, things happen for a reason. No ill feelings.
Yeah. And in that short time, I mean, you guys individually and as a group were able to showcase your skills as heels, but also showcase your skills as baby faces, which, I mean, in that short of a time, I mean, it's great how you guys were able to just adapt and keep the fans in the palm of your hands. I mean, like I said, the whole time here, it's you don't see it every day, and it's really not, it's fresh for WWE,
Yeah, we were really fresh and just different. And I was happy that we were going to be something that I feel like was really needed and was new. The kids connected to us so quickly. I mean, they just saw us as, everything they see on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, they saw us as that for WWE. So I was really sad for the fans. That was the biggest thing that made me sad, was like, wow, the fans didn't get what they wanted out of us, So I'm a huge person about like my fans and connecting and wanting to, to them to know that they matter. So that's a really more than anything.
So now that you're doing different things now, you're making your return to wrestling soon. If the opportunity came about, would you go back to WWE if they came to you and said, hey, we want to bring you back? And obviously if it works out for you, but would you be open to going back?
Yeah, I would be open to go back because for me, business is business. It is what it is. There's nothing you can do about, big companies and the decisions that they make. So there's no reason to have any ill feelings, but you just always have to operate and do your thing as a business as well. So I would go back.
And with Swerve now in AEW signing just, a few short weeks ago, has there been any interest from AEW or any other company to bring you or, the Hitmakers as a trio in?
As of now, no. That's also because I'm doing so many things right now. I have connections in both of those who are like, hey, if you whatever happens, like let us know or whatever. But there hasn't been any interest like reaching out to us wanting to bring the group or anything as of now. But you never know. I mean, people add things to their groups and they change things all the time. So you just never know what'll happen.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see you and the rest of Hitmakers somewhere doing something awesome, because I mean, it's inevitable and you can't keep a good thing down. I mean, you guys were just so entertaining to see, but I'm excited to see what you and the group as a whole do next. But you've been in the studio, you've been recording music.
Yes.
going back to the roots in a sense. Can you tell us about your new single, Focus?
I have a new single, Focus, coming out. It is dropping April 22nd. I'm also gonna be releasing a visualizer with that as well. It's just gonna be, a new song. I'm very excited about this release. It has a little bit of a different sound than what my fans are used to hearing from me, but just showing my evolution musically and everything is gonna be amazing. I'm actually doing a pre-drop for this song, a live listening I'm doing on my OnlyFans. It's gonna be April 15th. And yeah, subscribe there to see it because it's going to be doing a pre-drop with a live listening with me. So it'll be a lot of fun. I'm going to listen to some of my old music as well and then move right into stuff.
And speaking of OnlyFans, you recently dropped your OnlyFans and the fans went absolutely bonkers for it. It's gone crazy. What can fans expect to see from Briana Brandy if they subscribe to your OnlyFans?
Well, starting April, there will be explicit content on there. I just want to let everyone know, it's going to be very interesting. But it's just, behind the scenes look at me. I show people what I do here, as far as my nightlife stuff. When I'm in Colombia or wherever else I'm traveling, you get new releases from me. Like I said, I'm going to be doing the pre-release for my song there. Any news for wrestling that I'll be doing, I kind of release it there first is like my first tier. So they get all the behind the scenes exclusive look at everything that I'm doing. Videos, recordings, whatever, pictures. Yeah, it's more of an in-depth look at what I'm doing.
No, I think that would be amazing to see. It's not every day you get to see a behind the stage or like a backstage kind of pass for someone especially like you with such a large fan base to be able to see, your process and how you do everything and really how you juggle your day to day because you're all over. You're doing so many things.
Oh my.
And speaking of adding more to that, your merch store is launching. The fans have been asking for it for a while. When could they or where could they go and grab your merch?
You can actually get merch right now. I just added up. It is live. It is on my link tree. If you go to my Instagram, Briana_Brandy, and click right in my bio on my link tree, it's the second one there. It says buy merch. So yeah, I have shirts out, 8x10 signed, unsigned. Yeah, I'm really excited. I've never had merch before. I've never had t-shirts. I've never had any of this stuff. So I'm like, gosh, this is amazing. I'm excited.
No, I'm excited for you. I mean, such great things coming your way. I'm really excited to see, what happens next. But also for all the fans listening and watching, where could they go and follow more Briana Brandy?
Well, like I said, Instagram is mainly the thing that I use a lot, that and my OnlyFans. But on my Instagram, on my link tree has all of my YouTube, all of my music drops, all of the merch, new things, everything. You're going to get a little sneak peek there always on my Instagram first. And then on my link tree, like I said, you can go and dive in deep.
Awesome. And for all the wrestling fans that are, listening and watching right now, what can they expect next from you? And if you can talk a little bit about your upcoming reunion with the HITMAKERZ.
Well, you can catch us this weekend. We're doing a show this weekend in Baltimore. It'll be all of us together. Swerve will be there with us as well. But yeah, we're going to be doing that. And then WrestleMania weekend is going to be a big one. We're going to be all over. We're doing some shows for Booker T. We're doing some signings, appearances. We're just going to be all over WrestleMania weekend. And yeah, from here, I'm going to be doing a lot. So like I said, catch the music. Never know, I could be doing some acting as well. I've had people reach out to me for things like that as well. So I have my hand in everything. For me, I just want to do it all. I want to experience it all. I just want to have some fun. So that's what I've been doing.
Awesome. At the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about having fun and really just, enjoying yourself.
Absolutely.
But I do want to thank you, for being so open and taking the time to chat and talk about everything that's been going on. And I'm so happy to see, honestly, so happy to see you thriving and being fabulous despite, what has been thrown your way. But like you said, before, you're a fighter. You're going to keep going and keep pushing. So I'm excited to see what you have next. And I'm excited to see what the HITMAKERZ have next.
Hey, thank you so much, Joy. Again, thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much to all the fans. You guys are amazing. There would be none of this without fans to appreciate it all. So I really just love and really appreciate all the fans' support. And shout out to Elite Apparel Products for doing my merch store. And like I said, it dropped today, so go check it out.
Awesome. And again, thank you so much for your time. And hopefully down the road, we can do this again and talk about more accomplishments coming from you.
Absolutely, Joey. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys again for sure.
Wait. Before you go, I have one question to ask. Are you a pro wrestling fan? Well, if you're watching this video, in most cases you are. And with WrestleMania 38 right around the corner, there's no better way to support your favorite WWE superstar than to buy their merch and rep their style, which now you can do exclusively through the link provided below at the Angle Podcast official Amazon store, where you can find all products officially from the WWE shop itself. That includes t-shirts, hoodies, hats, title belts, action figures, Funko Pops, and even the new WWE 2K22 video game available on all platforms. Now, if you're like me, I like to collect my WWE Funko Pops. I like to set them up for their matches, and with WrestleMania coming up, you can collect or pre-order the new Brock Lesnar Funko Pop, set it up with the limited edition Roman Reigns Funko Pop. You can get a Charlotte Flair Funko Pop and set it up side by side with the rowdy one, Rowdy Ronda Rousey, or even the new pre-ordered Bianca Belair Funko Pop and Becky Lynch Funko Pop. All exclusive items at the Amazon store of the Angle Podcast, straight from WWE shop itself. Now, here is your new contest, your new giveaway. If you do make a purchase through the link provided below at the Angle Podcast official Amazon store, proof of purchase is needed in either a DM for Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Send me a proof of purchase to be entered into an exclusive contest to win your choice of a limited edition Universal Champion Roman Reigns Funko Pop or a limited edition Becky Lynch Becky 2 Belts Funko Pop. The choice is yours. Use the link provided below and get ready to enjoy the most stupendous WrestleMania in history. Before you go, please like, subscribe, and check out more wrestling content right here on the Angle Podcast.